Hi, this is Damon Pistulka, host of The Faces of Business, where I talk with interesting people, sharing life and business experiences to entertain, engage, build community, and provide information to help others succeed. If you're interested in learning more about one of our guests or how we are helping business owners generate wealth and build businesses they can sell or succeed at Exit Your Way, you can find more information on our website, exityourway.com, or by contacting me directly, Damon at exityourway.com. I hope you enjoy the show. All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Faces of Business. I'm your host, Damon Pistulka, and I am excited for our guest today. I've got Andrew Penny, and we're going to talk about the common traits of businesses that thrive. Andrew, awesome to have you here today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to this.
Man, I am excited. I really am excited because I was looking at your background. You know, we talked before and looking at your background, and we actually met because you were on the Manufacturing Masters, and that's how we met, through the Manufacturing Masters with Darren and Vince there. And I actually have a video that I recorded. I don't know when it's going to come out, but we'll see. But this is cool. It's good to talk to you because, man, you help people with marketing, mid-sized companies with marketing. I think it's really cool what you're doing, but I also think there's some other stuff that we want to talk about. As I said, the common traits of businesses that thrive, because you describe it well on your LinkedIn profile, where you're talking about, you think that good societies are founded on well-run, privately held businesses. So can you, let's first of all, I wanted to jump right into that, but let's talk about your background a little bit. Cause man, your background is interesting, because you work for some really interesting stuff coming up, and then you've been consulting for a while. So let's talk about your background first. I was getting excited there.
Yeah. You want the resume? I mean, I can go on for hours. I kind of grew up in sales and marketing. You know, I had a degree in English literature, and I guess back in the 70s or 80s, whenever it was, you know, you're either a teacher or you become a salesperson. So I became a salesperson, and I worked for a lot of companies. And you know what? One of the things that really annoyed me in the early days is that, and it's still true today, the marketing folks didn't know what the sales folks were doing, and oftentimes the marketing people weren't talking to the client, you know, to the prospect, to the marketplace. So there was this disconnect. You know, marketing would be off selling this message, and sales would be marching in a different direction, and that just bugged me all the way along. So anytime I at one point I was working for one of Canada's, it was actually the first mobile telephone company, Bell Cellular.
Yep.
And I think I was employee 14. And wow. I just said, no, you know, we've got to get marketing and sales singing the same song. So I kind of subsumed marketing into my department. And, you know, we actually did really, really well with it. We put some very interesting strategies together and scooped the competition and had dominant market share, blue chip clients. So it worked really, really well. But it was that difference between sales and marketing that bugged me. And you know, that continued to itch me a little bit, and I didn't know what I didn't know. So I'd be sitting in some of the executive meetings, and people would be going on about human rights legislation or amortization of capital investments, and you know, subordinate debentures, all this kind of stuff. And I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. So I decided I need to know what the game was. So I went back to school and did an MBA and learned all that stuff. And some of it I liked, some of it I could care less about. But I know what they're talking about. So when somebody, I don't think there's anything in business that somebody can bring up that I can't say, okay, you know, I know what you're talking about, and that's not right, or explain this to me. So it's, I think, you know, those kinds of experiences have done me really well. But I do go back to that. You know, that's one aspect of alignment, that sales and marketing alignment, that really does need to be organized properly.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, because you see this all the time, and it was a lot more years ago than it is now, because it you know, it'll kill a business now, whereas years ago you kind of got away with it. But if you're not speaking to your customers now, you're it's really hurting. It's not just a little bit inconvenient. It's really hurting.
I think there are a lot of companies that recognize they're marketing companies. I work with a number of technology companies, and they're all tech first. And the product market fit, we'll figure that out later. That's a problem. But I tell all of these guys that you have to become a marketing company. If you're successful, you have to be a marketing company, and you have to be a customer service company and some of the customer service products. But even manufacturing companies, they've got good R&D, many of them. They've got lean operations. They've got their supply chain all figured out, and they've got a guy in sales, and they don't develop that side of their business. And there's two aspects to it. One is, okay, got to fill the funnel, but what are you filling the funnel with? Are you filling it with one client? You got dependency. Are you filling it with a whole bunch of really hard to do, low margin stuff that's different, sort of a heterogeneous product mix? Or are you going after the easy stuff from a diversified client base with good margin? And is the guy in sales, and good for him or her for driving that, but there's not enough efforts put into the strategy around business development, I'll call it, which encompasses marketing and all the rest of it. So I see that all the time in mid-size marketing or mid-size manufacturing firms. It's all about the factory,
Yeah. And you make such a great point, because how many manufacturing businesses have you seen go out of business because they keep going down the same road with the same customers and not making the money they should?
Well, the other thing that happens, absolutely, the other thing that happens is if you look at the average lifespan of a product or even a client, 20 years, you're doing well at 20 years, but that company is going to change. I mean, in your business, right, it's going to have new owners.
Yes.
It's going to have a different story. You're going to get in there and change how they do things. And the guys that are supplying are, where did my easy business go? So it's you need an evergreen strategy on your prospects and your client base.
Yeah, that's for sure. I like that evergreen strategy around your prospects.
Who are you working with new types of companies? I won't call them startups, because a startup can be two guys in the basement. A startup, Elon Musk's Gigafactory, right? But are you working with the next wave of opportunities?
Yeah. I was recently in my past, is a few years, but working with a company that was working with a startup, but it was a startup that was a part of Google. And when then you got a reasonable chance of success when you're doing that. And also same company, there's a startup with Microsoft, and those are companies that a startup to them is a significant opportunity for a lot of companies, and those are good ones to work with. But that is an example of a company that had long held customers, like you said, the 20 plus year customers, but they were diversifying with some newer kinds of customers and more technology based things around their products to keep that long-term longevity, because you don't know what the next long-term 20-year customer is going to be.
That's right. And we've seen the upheaval over the last 3 years. Hotels, retail. We have a client in Latvia.
Oh wow!
His steel prices are going up 130% every month.
Oh my goodness!
And he's a steel fabricator. I mean, this is not this is his business, right?
Yeah.
So and it's because Russia supplies a lot of Europe, or used to supply a lot of European steel. Now it's coming from Italy and places like that, which means you've got to barge it through the Mediterranean, up around and up to Riga through the Baltic Sea. I mean,
that's crazy.
So how do you, how do you play in that game?
Yeah.
So those disruptions, if you've got a variegated, let's call it, or a heterogeneous customer base, it makes it a lot easier to work in that market.
Yeah, that's for sure. So let's talk a little bit more about your background though, because you had worked your Class 8 truck work. So that's one of your earlier jobs, but you sold to all the major truck manufacturers, it looked like, in
Yeah.
North America.
Yeah. I was working with a company in Montreal. I was their OEM sales manager.
Yeah.
They didn't have any OEM sales when I joined them, but they did when I left. But
Yeah.
they were making heavy duty suspension components, so
Yeah.
leaf springs for Mack trucks, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we ended up selling to, I think, every one of the Class 8s except International at the time. So I've been out your way.
Yeah.
Who was it? It was PACCAR and
Yeah.
Freightliner were out your way.
Yeah.
Western Star up in Canada. All the Mack plants, Volvo White.
Yeah.
So all of those guys. We
That's
had
cool.
an interesting story there, because a lot of our business was in the aftermarket part, so OEM aftermarket, and in the sort of new product OEM, that you'd have order lengths of 5,000, 10,000 units, and the pricing, the competition on that was brutal. You'd be lucky if you got 15 points.
Yeah.
And then when and we were a small plant, we couldn't handle most of that stuff anyway. But in the aftermarket side of the business, they would only buy 2 or 3 of these things a year. So we could get 500% margin. They didn't blink.
Yeah.
But if you've got 1,000 parts at 500% margin, it was just a fantastic way to really drive the business. But it shows you that the buying processes and the criteria they use are very different, even though it's the same company, but a different part of it.
Yeah.
The aftermarket guys, can you get it to us in 2 weeks, please? And no one else would do, a couple of parts. So we dismissed them basically 2 guys with a hammer.
Yeah.
Huge margins on them. It was great.
Yeah. Well, and you found your niche then. I mean, it really is if you can, I can't make you $1 million by Tuesday, but I can get you 2 by Tuesday where no one else can.
Right. And 2 of these and 2 of these and 2 of these and 2 of these for 5 different manufacturers. And we had a great business. Made a lot of money doing that.
Yeah, no doubt. And that is a cool way to do it.
Yeah. And some companies kill themselves by getting the 2 and then trying to do the 1,000.
Yeah.
And then their margin drops down, their production goes to hell, they're working overtime and paying for it, and they can't deliver, and the quality's not good.
Yeah.
Whereas this stuff, the quality inspection was sort of, put a tape measure, okay, good enough.
Well, yeah, because if they really need it, someone's going to make it work, right? Yeah. They're going to make it work and so there's stuff. But that's a great point, actually. The aftermarket compared to the OEM market on products. I'm amazed when I look at trucks. There's one thing when I look at things like, well, of course, automotive in general, just private automotive or fleet automotive and things like forklifts and all these industrial products. The aftermarket businesses for them is so crazy. It's extensive, just so extensive. It's really something.
And so in production equipment, because if your forklift is down, you might have a spare or 2, but I need it by Thursday.
Yeah.
I don't care what it costs. 500, 500, bring it on.
Yeah. There's been some e-commerce in the forklift space. There've been some really interesting e-commerce, and they must be resellers or something, because I've seen them with SKU counts in the millions. And I was like, so they must be aggregating from all different kinds, something like that.
A meta distributor or something.
Yeah. It's pretty interesting. So you were in, like you saw before, you were in the telecom industry earlier, and then you were with some of the first national internet providers in Canada.
Yeah.
That was an interesting time, I bet, wasn't it?
It was. Is this an adult program?
Yeah.
Okay. We were sitting around in the office in Ottawa, and this was before URLs, or it was IP addresses, right?
Yeah.
So somebody had told us about this video you could watch online. It was live. So, okay, we're all around this display in the office, and we type it in. And it's shall we say, it's an undressed performance by multiple people.
Yeah.
And we're watching television. Okay. And there was a question bar, so you could type something in. So we typed in, hello from Canada, and one of the people got up and went to a notepad and then held up, hello Canada. And to me, that was the first interactive video, personal connection, not TV, not broadcast, not recorded. It was a live connection through a computer with full video. And that was like early days of the internet.
Yeah.
And when not the content, but when I saw that capability, it was like, this changes everything. And here we are today doing this. But that the ability to effortlessly communicate anywhere in the world in data, and that can be any format of data you want, that just blew my mind. Digital natives go like, duh, but
well, but those of us that can remember before the internet, literally before email, before texting, before all that good stuff, I can remember the same time frame when you started to be able to email people. It was a big deal. Holy heck. You didn't have to use the phone. You could email somebody a question.
We were telling all of our clients, put your web address, I guess we called it in the days, put your web address on your billboard. Like, why would I do that? You'll see.
Yeah.
Now, of course, every bit of collateral's got a web address, an email address, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, that's cool. So you've had Kingsford Consulting for a while now, and you've been helping, B2B companies and other companies with their marketing. Why marketing? Why did you choose marketing? I mean, you had a great sales career. You could be helping people with sales, but you chose marketing.
Well, it's interesting. I don't differentiate. Okay. I used to talk for a while there. I used to talk about big M marketing, and I probably a better term is business development, because marketing is a subset. Marketing, I mean, marketing communications is probably a better term for what a lot of people think when they think marketing. Advertising and promotion and this sort of thing and so on, right? But to me, the whole piece of it is it's the whole revenue side of the business. So it's your market position, it's your distribution network, it's your awareness, it's your messaging. Sales is just a portion of that. That's the actual engagement piece and negotiation discussion. That can be live, it can be done on a website, it can be done through email or whatever. But that's just a piece of the overall business development story. So I wouldn't say that we're on the marketing side per se. It's sort of that business development, the revenue side of a company. How do we make more money, or how do we start making money? That's really the question that we answer, all of it. So that's the difference.
That's awesome, because and it wasn't rehearsed. I didn't even you didn't know I was asking this question, because I think that's one of the points that I picked up in talking to you earlier, and from the stuff that you've put out, is that you approach marketing from a revenue generation standpoint. Yes, there's, like you said, awareness and branding and everything all the way through, but marketing is really a piece of revenue generation.
Sales is a subset of marketing.
Yeah. Sales is a subset of marketing. There you go.
How do we connect with the customer and get the money from them? That's the sales bit. But who is the customer? What's the story we give them? Where are they located? What awareness strategy we use to get their attention? All of that is all part of the business development story. And that's true whether you're in products or services, whether you're selling through a channel, whether you're selling direct to consumer, selling online. That story is still there. The sales engagement piece is just tailored to whatever the relationship is.
Yeah. So when you look at marketing, what's been the toughest marketing challenge you've had? Or just say the toughest product or business you've ever had to help, industry, something like that. Just when you go, man, that was tough, but we got it.
I remember the pain. I can't remember the instance, but
There you go.
We tend to use something, we call it a position statement. It basically says, what do you do? Who do you do it for? Who else does it? Why are you better? I mean, that's the model. It's a little more than that, but that's the essence of it. So, we start with a customer. We look at, okay, what do you got? What are you? What are your capabilities? What are your aspirations? And what can you deliver? What can't you deliver? So, so what do you do? We look at that. Okay, who could we do it for? And you segment the market, right? You look at the addressable market, you look at the segment, you segment the market. And then all those segments, you look at, okay, what are they competing against in those markets? That can be a competitor, it can be inertia, it can be do it yourself. I mean, what are you having to overcome in that market? And then why are you better than whatever it is you're trying to overcome? So that's sort of the algorithm we look at the market through. And you have to get it all to work. Right. So, okay, that's a good market. Oh, we can't compete. Okay, but this would be good, but we don't do that. So that system has to work. And sometimes you get to it where, the company just really has no advantage, no real hard advantage in any one marketplace. It's really tough. And usually it's a tired company. Oftentimes they're doing this, and they're wondering why they're about to crash, and can we help them? And oftentimes it's too late, because you really have to reinvent what do we do, because that's the problem. What we're doing, nobody wants, is or fewer and fewer people want. So how do you reinvent the what do we do, so that it becomes relevant? But I tell you, there's particularly with manufacturers, there's a really interesting way to differentiate. I'll give an example. We've got a client in Argentina, and they make farming implements. Right? So hay balers, baggers, the stuff you pull behind a tractor, right?
Yep. Very familiar with that.
They want to come to North America. Why not? It's Argentina's got a pretty robust agricultural environment, but
yes, they do.
The sort of the corn belt of Canada and the U.S. It's ripe for, no pun intended, it's ripe for market expansion. When you look at the market, though, there's this company that sells green tractors, John Deere. They've got 3,000 dealers.
Yeah.
So how do you break into the market? How do you compete on service? How do you compete on, they're everywhere. So there's a slice of almost every incumbent market right now that has gone digital. And out of the people that own farms, and, we've got the numbers. I think we determined that something like, I think the number's like 30 or 40,000 farms are run by what I would call a digital farmer.
Yes.
The digital farmer's in his tractor, he's looking at the soil. He's looking at corn prices. He's ordering, whatever. So they're fully digital. They get it. They buy on Amazon. They would buy a Tesla like this online. So we don't need, 300 or 150,000 clients. Okay, for our Argentinian guy, we need like a few thousand would be marvelous.
Yeah.
So there's a slice of the market that will buy online. So the competitive strategy is direct to consumer, but tailor it not to somebody who's say 55 and a profile and doesn't have a TikTok account and isn't on Twitter, right? Forget it. So you tailor it to that very narrow slice of the market, and you differentiate on distribution. You don't differentiate on quality. You don't differentiate on the color of the machine. You don't differentiate on features and fun. Those are all table stakes. It's got to work, right?
Yeah.
You differentiate on distribution, and that to me is an excellent way for a lot of manufacturers to change the game. Disintermediate. Get rid of the channel, not for your whole market necessarily. As a new entrant in a market, I mean, you'd be dumb not to do this. But if you're trying to work your market, then maybe if you're developing a new product, wouldn't be carried by your existing channel.
Yep.
That's the one you go direct to customer with.
Mm-hmm.
In that industry, retail price is it's about 100% markup. So a $100,000 implement has $50,000 worth of margin in it.
Yeah.
And you can keep it all as a manufacturer, or if you give up half of it for, to have a price advantage, or give up half of it to, I was joking, you could, from a service point of view, you could afford to fly a helicopter in, with a guy in a wrench to fix it, right?
Yeah.
So the market is that particular market, the channel is very bloated and very wasteful when you look at what technology can do. So.
Yeah, that's awesome, because it shows the vulnerability of the market, because as we know, that market is changing. Those buyers are changing every single day. The amount of digital buyers and farmers, or in any market, any buyer, you look across, and this is manufacturing all across. If every manufacturer that's listening to this right now should take note of it, because if you're not, and it's funny you said this, because I get on my high horse about this a lot. Just because, look, the average age of the people making decisions in OEM manufacturing companies are not digital immigrants anymore. They are digital natives. They made the decisions based on the fact that they grew up in Google and a phone in their hand, and they can do, just like you said, those digital farmers. And manufacturing across the board, yes, you still need salespeople, as you said, to do what you need to do. But if you're not doing it digitally, you're losing margin you're losing market share every day.
So that leads me to my next pet idea or concept here, and it's very true. And we talked about this before. Once you start selling online, you realize that everybody can sell online.
Yeah, everybody can.
Everybody can sell online, and the concept I talk about is being best in the world. Because if you're selling online, this guy in Argentina, he's coming to North America, right? Look out, John Deere.
Yeah.
Our guy in Latvia, he's doing the same thing.
Yes.
He's coming. And the mistake a lot of people make when they enter a new market is they come with their full catalog. Hey, we got everything. We're one-stop shop. You can buy this, that from us. And that's all right if you're selling O-rings and they're just different sizes. But if they're different categories of product, that doesn't make any sense, because how can you be best at all of them? And you can't put focus behind it. So the strategy really needs to be, okay, if you're going to expand your market, you're going to go global with something, you're going to go online with something, pick something where you are, or you could become best in the world. And best is a nebulous term. It has to do with price and features and service and brand power and a whole bunch of things, right? But you have to be best in the world. But pick that one area. We make mice. That's what we do. We're the world's best mouse maker, and become the world. But you might sort of, the initial thought is, well, how many people buy mice? And you're thinking of your, Seattle or Ottawa or Canada. That's irrelevant. Of the, 6 billion people or something in the world, how many buy mice? That's your market. Yeah. So, but you have to be best in the world if you're going to go global with it. So that's what I tell people when they're going into a new market. What is it that you can be best in the world at? Not only from an offensive point of view, but that guy in Argentina is going to come after you if you're not best in the world in your home market.
Well, that's just it. And people don't see it over time. I mean, or in the short term. You don't see business erosion in the short term because it's little chinks. It's like death by 1,000 cuts.
Exactly.
It just keeps coming. It's like, oh, we didn't get that work. Oh, that order, they didn't order from us, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And this could be an OEM manufacturer. This could be a contract manufacturer. It doesn't really, you don't see it.
Yep.
And it's eroding every single minute of the day, unless you know and you own that piece of the market and you know where it's going, why it's going. And it's sad to see it happen, but there's businesses dying around us every day that have been successful for many, many years.
Yep.
And they're getting beat, like you said, by global competitors that are coming in direct to consumer, and able to do it, or the person around the street that has a digital strategy and marketing strategy that you don't.
So, you've got your sales that are dropping, right? But if you use this strategy, as your sales are dropping, your best in the world product is taking over. You're maintaining or growing your revenue. It's if you don't play that game, you will eventually disappear.
Yeah.
The other key point of that, though, is, just like the Argentinian guys are going after the digital farmer. We've even specified, what they're growing, what states they're in, how old they are. We've narrowed it down very, very specifically. Same thing with best in the world. You can't be best in the world. I mean, you'd never make the world's best mouse for the entire population. Some people are left-handed. Some people are colorblind. Some people are short. Some people, whatever. They don't like the color white. So you have to hyper segment your market.
Yep.
And if you hyper segment your market and be best in the world for that with this product or service for that hyper segmented marketplace, then you have a chance of winning. But if you try to be, we serve farmers, like, forget it.
Yeah. It ain't happening.
No. So the challenge is to have the objectivity to be able to look at what you do. I go back to what do you do, who do you do it for, who else does it, why you better. You have to look at what you do and are really, really good at and say, all right, what is the hyper segment or the fine segment where I could be best in the world with this? And if not, what would I have to do to it? But what is that segment and how big is that segment? Is it global? Is it, is it age? Is it, how do we look at that? And is it big enough? The big in Canada, we often look at Canada. Canada, it's big, but it's not that big from a revenue point of view. US is very big, but you add in Europe, and that's a whole bigger market opportunity. Africa is emerging big time. That's another opportunity. So there's so much more market out there, but unless you hyper segment, you're not going to be able to be best in the world at that.
Yeah. Yep. The hyper segmenting is niching down like that is key. And I think here's Matt Goosey. He dropped a comment in here. Want to learn more about me? Just Google my name. And he's serious. Matt's got MRS machining in Wisconsin there. And he goes out of his way to be digitally known and doing what he's doing. And it's one of those things where you look at it and his business is thriving because of it. And there's just some people that understand that and understand specifically where they play the best.
Yeah.
And you see it in some of the great companies. It doesn't matter if you're an auto manufacturer or you're someone that's making parts for airplanes. It doesn't really matter. And the people that do it though, when you play in your lane and you do a really good job and you are known for that and you are actively out there doing it, you can be the best in the world at something. And it's like you said, if you wanted to be the best in the world at making a pen, right? You probably can sell millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars of pens if you're the best in the world at it.
Probably, but I would still say you've got a hyper segment.
Yeah.
It's got to be a fountain pen, and it's got to be for people over 50 with arthritis and nearsighted. I don't know.
There you go. You're right.
So when you do that, and I say to you, are you over 50? Do you have a little bit of arthritis? Do you like fountain pens? We should talk.
Yeah. Okay. That's an awesome example because it's exactly what you need to do as you're doing it is because when you look at the world, and we were all stuck with this, growing up, what was the market? Well, there's about this many people that live around us, and now that's just, it's totally bunk because we can sell anything anywhere. We know we can. And so the world is your market and you may not sell hardly anything. And I'll give you a great example. There's a cooking store that I like to frequent and I'm a horrible cook. I'm just saying that, but
so
cooking store.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I just go in there because he's got cool junk, right? Okay. So you walk in this cooking store, it looks like a shoebox and you talk to the owners of the cooking store. They sell 3 times what they sell in the physical store out the back that you can't see on e-commerce.
Yeah.
I was in another place that's local to us here across on the peninsula. This is a liquor store like I've never seen before, literally. And a 3,000-foot wine cellar, a tasting room for single malts, just fantastic. Again, in a place where there are not 100,000 people within 20 miles of it, unless you get on a ferry. They sell, again, twice as much by e-commerce than they do everywhere else. I just think that the coolest thing about it is when people niche down like that, hyper segment, you can do this anywhere. You can do it anywhere, and you can create these experience destination places to go. And in the case of the liquor store, they had a restaurant, they had a chocolatier place with a coffee shop, and it was a family business. But they had a thriving family business. I just think, to me, I get off on the opportunity that creates, because I grew up in a small town in South Dakota that, had less than 500 people. And you just think, what could you do with that today?
Anything.
I know. It's amazing, but I go off on that a little bit.
You make a good point there. You're talking about that family store with the chocolate shop and all the rest of it, and the family restaurant. That's the brand.
Yeah.
And people relate to that brand, even if they're buying from, they might be in, I don't know, Lucerne, or Buenos Aires, right? But they relate to the brand. Yes. Because that brand of family and wholesomeness will come through, even though it's digital.
Yeah.
That's the other aspect of what I look at. You're asking me earlier what are the success factors, and it's core purpose. I mean, that's, people talk about vision and mission and all the rest of it. And those, if you look up one dictionary, mission will be what vision is. They're useless terms. So I talk about core purpose.
Yeah.
Why are you in business? What's the dent you're making in the universe?
Mm-hmm.
And the companies that do well are the ones that can, put their hand on their heart and say, I'm doing this. We've got a client who's bringing tutoring and educational support to every person in the world, helping the people of the world share what they know with people who want to learn.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're doing. They're a relative startup at this point. They're worth maybe $100 billion or something, but they're finding their way through. But that core purpose ignites everybody.
Yes.
And when I work with a company, once I've earned the trust of the owner, I ask them, I say, why are you doing this? I want to make money. My dad had whatever. It's bullshit. What's the difference you're making in the world?
Yeah.
And when they can't enunciate that, when they can't connect what they do during the day with a positive impact on the world, then things start to fall apart. It's just a job, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes I need to lead them through it and have them, because they've never thought this way. They have to start thinking about that, and they go, oh. We had a client who is a contractor, right? So builds apartment buildings.
Yeah.
And very, very successful. And he asked us to say, look, I want to stop building apartment buildings. I want to build a company. So rather than building one at a time, build it, sell it. He's slowly building his concrete empire, right? He's got half a dozen buildings now, and he's worth hundreds of millions. So he's doing well. And we started to ask him about this stuff, and he said, "Oh, no, that's bullshit. What are you talking about? I got to make a profit. Just be success. That's the reason we're doing it, right?" But we got to him, and finally he said, "The reason we're doing this is to give people a really nice place to live that's safe and secure, and we design them in such a way that we actually create a community within the building. And our long-term vision is that we want to build the same kind of housing on the moon for people when they live there." Now, this is a real, hard boot, steel-toed pickup truck kind of, no nonsense, effing everything third word kind of guy. But that's what he came back with once I got him thinking about it. So now it's part of his story. And the employees are going, yeah, we're going to build houses on the moon.
Yeah.
We're building the right kind of housing for people. So that's the dent in the universe. And when you do that, you attract people, you keep people. It's part of your brand, part of your mythology, and everybody loves it. I was looking at a website the other day. It was part of some research I was doing, and about us. Okay, you founded and whatever, 6 employee, like whatever, that kind of stuff. And there was a little video there. Here's us having. Here's some company activity. All right, click, and it was about a 3-minute video, and they were having balloon fights. They were having hot dog roasts. They were collecting money at Halloween. All this sort of stuff, right? Nothing to do with the business. But at the end of it, I thought, I like these guys. I do business with them, right?
Yeah.
But it's that personal thing. It's that putting your heart on your sleeve, talking about why you're in business, and it's that vision beyond the owner's lifespan.
Yeah.
that starts to work for people. And companies that have those kinds of things have a lot more fun, and usually they do really, really well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you talk about it in your common threads for businesses thrive. You talk about sense of purpose. Yeah. That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
understanding is key. Yeah.
What's your sense of purpose? Like, what do you do what you do? What's the dent you make in the universe? Sorry to put you on the spot, but
no. I want to help every business owner I can in my lifetime to exit their business successfully, however the hell they want to do it. I'll give them the information. I just want to make that difference because there's so few people that ever they work so damn long in their businesses and so hard, and so many get to the end and they end up having to liquidate or close it down or die at their desk. There's so many bad ways that they go out. I want every one of them, get them every bit of information I can so they can do it right. And I don't care if I get paid.
That's good. That's good. So you're making the world a better place for those guys, for those people.
I don't know. Maybe I just, spewing more junk out of my mouth, but hopefully it helps somebody, because it's the alternative for them is not good.
Yeah.
It's not good.
That's sort of, our story as well. We believe, I truly believe that a privately owned company can do the right thing for the world.
Yeah.
Look what happened in Ukraine recently. Okay. The number of privately held companies, LinkedIn posts, public announcements, whatever, that said, we're out, Russia, we're gone.
Yeah.
And they did it like almost overnight.
Yep.
Well, some of the larger companies did it. It took them a week or so. And I'm sure they had to talk to their lawyers. And they had, it was kind of a corporate decision. And it's a good decision. I don't knock them for that at all. But a private company can do things that are suboptimal profitably for profits or performance, but that's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lay off Bob or Mary. They're 60. They want to work 3 more years. They really aren't performing anymore, but they've been good people. I'm going to carry them.
Yeah.
Right? I can do the right thing. I can donate money. I can use.
Yeah.
I can do that stuff. So that's why I want to do everything I can to help privately run businesses perform better, because it creates good jobs. It creates good communities. It creates income for people. And certainly it's not such a big deal in North America, but other parts of the world, a job is huge. Employed people means no anarchy, really.
Yeah.
I'm not going to claim world peace, but it's that sort of thing. So that's why I do what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's cool because it is. I mean, privately held businesses are the heartbeat of, you show me one economy, it's the world. It is. They are. And you're right. They can do the right things. They can make money doing the right things. They can generate wealth for their owners and their families and for generations if they do the right things.
And
for
the
community. For the community. Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say in the community.
If you export, you're bringing in foreign dollars, right? It's a building block. It's everything.
Yeah. And it's so good to be able to see. I'm sure it just warm. I mean, some of the stories that you get to hear about the companies and why they do things has got to be just phenomenal.
Oh, it's it's interesting. There's not much of a story. They just do it. They don't look for press publicity. They don't tell people. They just do it.
Yeah.
One of these guys, I was involved with Scouts for a very long time, and my 3 boys were in Scouts. And one of these guys he showed up with a pickup truck. He said, "I know you guys are having a big camp. And he's got a pickup truck full of stuff that we could use at this camp. He had, water barrels and sort of ropes and, all the stuff you need for a scout camp." And we said, "Well, wow, thanks. How much do we owe?" It was a couple of $1,000 worth of stuff.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do. So we did it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing that you just love to hear when local businesses do it right. And like you said, it's that sense of purpose fills the community, the employees, the customers, and the business owners, hearts and pockets. At the end of the day, it helps everyone.
It does. And I'll tell people I haven't worked in 25 years. I just love what I do. Intellectually, everything's a challenge. It's always a puzzle.
Yeah.
Typically, it's those 4 things I mentioned before. How do we make that work? But the positive impact that I'm privileged to be able to provide, it just warms my soul.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I saw you had written that down, and I concur, and I feel the same way about what I get to do. I pinch myself every day because I get to get up. It wakes me up early in the morning not because I have to, because I think because it's just the ability to be able to do what you do. And it shows in talking to you and your enthusiasm and passion for it. It's so great to be able to just experience. Yeah.
And watching you grin away, we both got this big.
Oh yeah. Because there is nothing like solving those problems and helping those privately held businesses do what they do well.
And do you find, like I do, that we might get involved with a client, with some sort of market research activity, and then we'll get into business development and strategy and whatever, and then very quickly, it's a very privileged place to be. We become sort of the consigliere, the advisor, on all things, and it can be family issues, it can be certain business issues, all sorts of things, and it's a privilege to be invited into people's confidence to be able to do that. And after doing this for 25 years with hundreds of situations, I've got some context usually. Don't do that because
yeah, because you've seen it before, and it is. You're exactly right, because most people that are on the outside of a business don't know how lonely it is being the owner of a business.
Totally.
It is.
I know that, right?
Yeah. But honestly, a lot of business owners get up and look in the mirror every day because that's the person that's going to decide what they're going to do and how successful they're going to be.
Yeah.
And they do need a lot of help, or they appreciate good help when they can have good advice. So when we're talking about you, let's go some of these common threads of businesses that thrive, because you got some good ones here. And you talk about one that we talked about, sense of purpose, but you talk about optimism. And I think this is one that you see every day in businesses, and it kind of goes unnoticed just because it's so common. So why do you think that optimism is always a common thread?
It's I guess when I wrote that, I must have been dealing with somebody who wasn't very optimistic, but it's looking at every instance, everything that comes your way as an opportunity. Mm-hmm. Half your company employees quit. Oh, okay, I can hire new people, or as opposed to, oh, what will I ever do? So it's always looking at business sort of half full, because business is full of challenges every day. There's something that's going to happen, and you can look at it as the old SWOT analysis. You can look at it as an opportunity or a threat. And if you look at all of the things that happen as opportunities, then you can be much more optimistic that you've got an upside in it somewhere.
Yeah.
But if you feel like everybody's trying to, crap on you, then
Yep.
You've got to shake that attitude. And I think, you probably, certainly me, occasionally there'll be days when you're just like, shit,
Yeah.
this isn't working. Something's not right here. And, you kind of have to work with your peer group, talk to your friends, and sort of get your mojo back, and where you go, or go and dig a hole with your tractor or something.
Oh, I think you're 100% on the optimism one, because I've worked with people that are not owners, that are not, and really? when you're in those situations, or I should say, not very, always some optimism in it.
Yeah.
But when you look at people that are generally wake up with that glass is half full, and I'm going to enjoy that half full glass, that it's a different business.
Yeah.
You could have a business and that person be like that, not quite as optimistic or not very optimistic, and they can make money and they can do things and those kind of things, but not nearly as well as somebody that is really in it with some optimism, with a lot of optimism.
And the thing that happens, of course, if you go into work and start interacting with your team, and you're not, hey, it's a great day, everybody. The captain of the ship sets the tone.
Yes.
And everybody's kind of like, maybe I should look for a new job, or this will never work, or you lose that energy.
Yeah.
And if you I think optimism kind of equates with energy. And if you've got the whole team is full of optimism, they got a core purpose, they've got a vision, they're building houses on the moon, and we're on our way.
Yeah.
Well, anything can happen. Anything can happen. But if everybody's, got their boots on, slogging through the mud and feeling like life's a bitch, and not so much.
Yeah. No, I think it's 100%. And I think that as you look at the differentiator in businesses, and I equate a lot of things back to sports. You get a professional level, I don't care what sport you choose anything. When you're at a professional level, everyone is good. Everyone is practiced. Mm-hmm. Everyone has honed their skills an awful lot. It comes down to mindset. It comes down to attitude. It comes down to feeling of like you're saying, sense of purpose. And I think optimism, thinking that today is a good day. I've got an opportunity to win like no other because I've got a great team around me. That optimism is the differentiator. Because in business, we're all professionals.
Yeah.
We're not in sports, but we're in business. And when you're in competitive environments, I think that is part of what is the differentiator between those businesses that consistently win or more consistently win.
Yeah. And I think it's easier to be optimistic when you have direction. So companies that don't have a strategic plan that they're running to, or they don't have at least a month's plan or some sort of forward trajectory. I won't call it a vision, but what are we doing next month or by the end of the year? And how are we going to get there? If there isn't a game plan, go back to sports. If there isn't a game plan, go out and do your best. Then it's really difficult to be optimistic because you're not getting the metrics to say, are we improving? Is it going well? And you've got really no idea what you're supposed to be doing next week, different from today, to make it better. So why be optimistic? Because it's the same old crap, right?
Yeah. Good. Great. I thought that's awesome because we talked about that sense of purpose and you. One last one before we wrap up here. You talk about vulnerability, and in there, and being vulnerable is a common thread. And so, what do you mean by that?
Unless it starts with the CEO, the owner, right?
Yeah.
And then it goes down through an organization. But talking about the CEO. I've met a lot of CEOs who know everything, and they want to demonstrate they know everything. And you ask, if you ask a question, they will have a rock solid answer and try to shut you down. Their job is to prove that they don't have to listen to me. And a CEO who is open to questioning themselves, opening to being critiqued, can improve. But if you know it all and you want to just demonstrate that, consultants, who needs a consultant? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah.
and we'll go. But the ones who are prepared to explore things, like I'll go back to the core purpose question. What do I need that for? So getting into that with someone, that's a vulnerability. That's sort of, you're going to an area where they don't have any experience, any path to tread. We're exploring it together. So that's vulnerable. You can have the same conversation about, best in the world. What are you really, really good at? We're good at everything. We want a prize on this, a prize on that. Okay, but they're not exploring. And when you want to explore, you have to be vulnerable.
Yeah, that's well said. And I read your example and I loved it when you're talking about you have to want to not be the smartest person in the room or accept that you're not the smartest person in the room. And I think that is, and I think that again comes around to, in successful companies, people are curious. They know we're not the best. You could always be better. And the CEO, like you described, that know it all. I mean, they obviously are probably not that curious and not that kind of person that's going to continue to be better. And I think that I asked the question simply because I about this point, because I think this is one of the things, along with sense of purpose and optimism, that really drives the best companies. Because if you're not curious, if you're not trying to get better every single minute of every day, I don't care what you do, you'd be a heart surgeon, right? You're getting passed up. You don't know it, but you're getting passed up because somebody else down the street, across the globe, is figuring it out better every day because they are curious.
Yeah. And part of that curiosity, I think, is a great expression. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of CEOs fall into that trap of thinking that, it's the old military deal, right? The general knows everything, so do what you're told. So they fall into that trap of being the CEO. I'm supposed to know everything, so I got to pretend that I do, as opposed to being vulnerable to being, shown up by someone else in the company. So if your executive team can challenge you and knows more and, has ideas, unless you let those ideas out and explore them, showing vulnerability, you're not going to improve, because that great idea that's going to make you best in the world won't necessarily get onto the table, because it'll be shut down. So I think that vulnerability sort of is it covers almost everything. Yeah,
it really does. It really does. Oh, it's been awesome talking to you. I can't believe we've all spent an hour here doing this, Andrew. It's so great to get
tomorrow. This was fun.
It was, because I'm sure when we get into the marketing that you do, and like you said about creating that brand awareness and it's really understanding how the marketing and sales and business development all works together in the process is so great. But man, I just appreciate you taking the time, because it's been so much fun.
No, it's been good. I thank you for having me on.
Yeah. Well, if someone wants to get a hold of you, Andrew, is LinkedIn a good place? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
LinkedIn, you'll find me, Andrew Penny, on LinkedIn.
Okay.
The company is Kingsford Consulting.
Yep.
So if you Google Kingsford Consulting, once you get past all the barbecue advertisements, you'll find Kingsford Consulting.
Very good. Very good. And we're going to have Andrew's stuff in all the show notes and everything else, so you'll be able to find him there. But I just want to say thank you once again, Andrew, for being here today. We were talking about some marketing. Andrew is doing B2B marketing and really helping with business development for mid-size companies, and appreciate you being here today.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
All right, everyone, thanks so much for being here today. We're going to be back again in a couple of days talking to somebody about another interesting topic. Thank you.